G'day everybody, it's me, the anti-theocrat, back with another one. I know it's been a while, but I've really been avoiding the microphone. Other than having family around and doing some travelling, really, the last 2 weeks was just about not wanting to sit in front of this microphone. I apologise for that, but, you know, life is what life is. I had other work to do, and I prioritised that over this microphone. Now, I wanted to take a quick look at a couple of articles that have been sitting on my desktop for a while. February 11, 2020 on this top one, so let's have a quick squiz, shall we? Why sports can be so toxic to girls and how we unravel that culture. And I've read that way for a reason. Because this whole article assumes that boys are learning something terrible from sports, but as we all know, girls play sports. Are they not learning terrible things? Is this all about masculinity? In any case, I also put this video here. I thought this was, I don't know what I thought this was, interesting, I guess. Thank you, CNN Health, for giving us this lovely little video, If I Were a Parent. And where do you think they're getting their parenting advice from? Fucking kid. Hang on, we'll skip in and see if we can find this. If I Were a Parent. This is their advisors. Yeah, right, because kids know everything about fucking parenting. I didn't know much about parenting before I became one. And I'd spent a lot of time working around and with kids. So yes, I knew fuck all about being a parent until I was a parent, essentially. I'm going to ask kids, though. Okay, I want to read more of this article, but I want to start with the telling factor about this article, This paragraph here. This education starts early. At the end of one of my first grade son's soccer games this past fall, the opposing team aggressively chanted, "We won," over and over again, as they high-fived our team at the end of the game. No matter that this league doesn't keep score for this age group, nor that this goes against the most basic understanding of human decency. Neither the coach nor a single one of their parents told them to stop. Woman, you're what's wrong. You're what's wrong with the fucking world. Now, it's bad enough that they don't keep score for this age group, right? Right. This is participation awards. This is not encourage anyone to play hard and be the best they can at the game. This is just participation award level. Okay, fair enough. Grade 1, you're trying to teach them the game. Fair enough. But did anyone consider that the kids understood the concept of winning and they were keeping a score? They knew how many goals they kicked. They knew that they'd won. And they were willing to say, "We won." What the fuck is the point of not keeping a score if the kids themselves know that that's what the game's about? Now, they said this over and over again while high-fiving your team. Yet apparently this goes against the most basic understanding of human decency. This, to me, looks like sportsmanship. This, to me, looks like the kids kept a score even if the adults don't fucking get it. So, yeah, I do not understand how this is against basic human understanding of human decency. I don't think you understand what human decency is, woman. Human decency is the fact that there was enough sportsmanship being taught in this that they gave your team high fives, right? We played a good game together. We won, but high five. Next time it might be different, right? But you think this is against human decency. You're a fucking idiot. You don't know what human decency is. You got some sort of fucking twisted idea in your head of what it is. And what you're really upset about is you're the only person who was having a cry about it. The parents, the coaches, they didn't give a flying fuck. This was kids being kids on a sports field. But you needed to have a cry and write about it for CNN, because my little Jimmy, I had to take him home and tell him why it was bad, and he make sure he had a good cry about it. Fuck off. Just fuck off. So reading from the top. Up here. Organised sports provides boys with what is probably the most influential education on masculinity. So we've worked out, Elisa Strauss, that you're a single mother, right? Right? You know fucking nothing about masculinity. You don't have a man around to help teach your children masculinity. You think an hour a fucking week plus an hour of practice during the week is going to be the most influential education on masculinity. Fuck, my kid's year 1 next year, but, you know, he's in that age, that ballpark. And I've got an older one who's off bloody been Navy. And I saw him through this age group. I can tell you now, neither of my sons is showing any inclination towards sport or field games. I'm hoping to get my youngest into archery with me, but, you know, sports on a field doesn't seem to be there yet. Maybe he'll develop into it, but it's not there yet. He will not find his most influential education on masculinity through organised sports. He will find it through me as his father. And I will respect his masculinity. I will respect it whether it turns out that he's gay or straight or otherwise or whatever in the fuck he wants to be, as long as it's a masculinity that he is happy with. Because I do not think we get to draw these lines as people like to draw. Let's face it, I'm an at-home father. I'm a kept man supported by 2 women. I'm raising 2 sons, or I've raised 1 and I'm raising a second. I'm not exactly the measure of masculinity you might be looking for, that you think masculinity is about. So I know masculinity is more than just what I choose to do for a living, what sport I play. There are plenty of good lessons being taught to our sons out on the field or the court. They learn focus, grit, and the importance of teamwork. Okay, good. Do they also learn to win and lose? Let's move on. There are also, sadly, a lot of bad ones too. Sports informal curriculum on masculinity. And the girls' sports. What is the girls' sports are teaching girls? But just asking, because apparently sports has an informal curriculum on masculinity. Apparently that's informally being taught through sports. Masculinity. It's I don't know. It's written in the code or something. I don't fucking know where this comes from. But it is often a crash course in machismo. I fucking hate that word. It says you're a fucking idiot. That's what that says to me. Because you are associating masculinity with the bravado of, well, in this case, using that word, of Latin American males. Now, I've come across that in Greek and Italian males as well. This male bravado. I've got no problem with male bravado. I don't think it's harmful on its own. I think it's quite a workable thing. It's just weird. I fucking never could get into that shit. But what you're saying is somehow sport worldwide, wherever boys are doing it, is teaching boy. I played fucking hockey. I played it before it was on AstroTurf. I played it when it was on grass, when it was a real sport, when you hit the ball and when it hit tufts of grass and came to fucking get you in the head. The ball would fucking be... You'd be ducking out of the way of the ball all over the fucking field. Right, I played it when it was a real sport, not this pansy fucking pushing the ball on AstroTurf game it is now. So yes, apparently worldwide, everywhere that sport is played, it has an informal curriculum on masculinity teaching the Latin American concept of machismo. You're a fucking idiot. You know nothing. You've probably never travelled outside your own fucking little part of the world and never experienced the world. You've got no fucking idea. A single mother who thinks that masculinity is taught through sport, because you've got no fucking idea how to teach it, and you don't have a man around. It teaches boys to suppress vulnerability. So, I recently saw a video that was supposed to be a woman popping her dislocated knee back in during a soccer game. Was it teaching her to suppress vulnerability? And is that a big issue? Is it really a harmful thing to suppress vulnerability? Do you have evidence that this is an issue? That this is a problem issue? Harness aggression. Isn't that a good thing? I mean, when I think of harnessing something, I think of controlling it. Controlling and focusing. See, I actually objected to this when I first read it, but thinking on it again, when you harness aggression and you focus it towards something, isn't that a good thing? As to dominance, what? We won, that's dominance? And what happens when you lose next week? Winning is everything. As I have noted, winning is not everything. What happens when you lose? What happens when you draw, right? Soccer is a game of low scores. When you draw a game, when you lose a game, do you possibly learn something other than winning? Do you learn to cope with something other than winning? Yes, the goal is to win. But when you don't win, you are being taught to deal with disappointment. And that's not a bad thing. Now, why you thought this needed to be added to that sentence, I'm not sure. I've got a feeling that your grade 1 child is about to be made a cross-dresser, and you're going to start using chemical castration on him, because don't cry like a girl, don't throw like a girl, don't run like a girl, do any of the above and you will pejoratively and maybe even violently be called gay. And also don't be gay. Well, let's face it, lady. I've watched girls cry and throw and run, and it doesn't really look like an effective way to go about things. All right, think about it. Just biologically, okay, for a minute. Let's think about running and throwing, right? Men and boys have a tendency to have a biological tendency towards stronger upper body strength. And our hips are square on, as opposed to a female's curved hip, which is pretty good for them, really, because if you got to shove a baby out, your hips need to be able to do certain things that ours don't. Ours, on the other hand, are the hips of a hunter, a runner. So yes, don't throw like a girl, don't run like a girl, are based on very real biological differences between men and women. And to teach a boy to run straight, to teach him to throw his balance with his arms and his legs, is not a bad thing. Why do you think it's a bad thing? Why do you think boys should run like girls? Do you think girls are just infinitely better runners? I mean, do girls ever come first in running races where boys are also included? My understanding is that in a recent running race, a woman was given a first prize award as high as the person who came in actual first place, yet she came in fifth. And the reason they have to give the same prize to her is because she moaned she didn't get the same prize as the person who came in first. She didn't come in fucking first, did she? She was the first woman. They gave a special prize to her for being a woman. But she wasn't first. 4 men were in front of her. As to being don't be gay, look, in my latter school years, I was bullied a bit through school, but in my latter school years, I had predominantly 3 bullies, really. One of them died a couple of years back. He finished his life as a cross-dresser in Sydney's King's Cross. Yeah, a gay guy bullied me about being gay. The only other 2 people who ever called me gay, and largely because I've been Flora since I was 10 years old. It's a name that bullies used against me, thinking that they would get one over me, but my mother convinced me that rather than letting the bullies get at me, pretend I liked being called Flora. I have been Flora since I was 10 years old. It is now technically at the state where it can be legally used, and I have had to fight for legal usage of it on social media a couple of times, because I have used it that often that most people only know me as Flora. But back in high school, 2 girls thought that a guy called Flora had to be gay, and he needed to be bullied, and they would find me coming down a set of stairs, and they would hit me and push me about and call me gay. Now, being that they were massive pair of bitches, jeez, butch those pair were, and my being raised not to hit girls, I was simply just bullied. But I had no recourse for comeback, so I was bullied. That was it. There was just a couple of girls that whenever I bumped into them around the place, they would feel the urge to call me gay and bully me. So, girls and gay guys were the people who called me gay. It is true that you can be called this on a sports field. But who gives a shit? If girls and gay guys can call you gay and it's a pejorative against you, then fucking everyone can. Some people live sheltered lives, don't they? We're amid a much-needed reckoning with masculinity. Are we indeed amid a much-needed reckoning with masculinity? And have begun thinking hard about certain elements of gender education boys receive can be harmful to them and others. What? Look, bitch, you sound like exactly the sort of girl who needs to have their education on femininity questioned. And we need to learn something about how little princesses like you grow up to think that you should be treated like a princess all your fucking life. That you're going to be upset when a team of kids, 5 years, 6 years old, say, we won to your son, and it hurts your little princess feelings. You were raised to believe you were queen of the world and nothing could ever go wrong. We need to really fucking take a look at that shit, because that's worse than anything boys get in the way of education. It is far more fucking toxic. Yeah, anyway. As a part of this reckoning, many coaches and parents, my son's former rivals notwithstanding, because she can't fucking get over the fact this was a kids' game, and kids actually gave a fuck to keep an eye on the score in their own fucking heads. They knew who was winning. Being soccer, it was probably 1-0. Probably wasn't too hard to hold on to a score. But they knew. They knew. It's only you, princess, who think this is a problem. So anyway, I'm not going to read the rest of this because I don't give a shit about how to talk to young athletes. Obviously, according to this paragraph, young athletes can work it out for themselves. They know they won, and they still high-five the other team because, you know, coaches generally teach you to be sporting towards the other team. Alright, quick look at the second article, and this one I'm going to do much the same. I'm going to skip to the toxic bits and then just call it a day. Study. Men pay dangerous price for masculinity, denying emotions tied to increased depression, isolation, suicide risk. Yeah, I actually don't believe that to be true. I don't know that that's what this study found. It goes through some statistics which I'm not going to deny or concern myself over because I don't really care. What I'm going to start with is this summation. High traditional masculinity makes people's coping strategies rigid. So when they're under stress, they may not show that flexibility and adaptability of things like losing a job or a relationship. Coleman told MedPage today. They may be more likely to go to an extreme reaction like a suicide attempt. Now, see, this puts everything on masculinity. But I would argue that masculinity is about coping strategies. Because we are taught, and I am someone who was taught to be traditionally masculine, and I have no issue with it at all. I try not to cry. I try not to be emotional. I don't discuss my personal and private life with other people. No problem for me. But one of the things I do know about the way I was raised was coping strategies. They are fucking important. We are told to support people and be people's strength. You don't do that by not having coping strategies. And they're not rigid, because if they were rigid, they wouldn't be coping strategies. But one of the things that I know I was taught about masculinity, about being a man, was that you get off your ass and you work out what it is you need to do to make things work. That is coping strategies. So, they've said that that gives us rigidity, and that means we're under stress, and we don't show flexibility or adaptability, and I think all of that is a load of fucking shit. Yes, there is stress when you are pushed to coping with things going on around you, but having the coping strategies makes you flexible and adaptable. You have to be, otherwise they're not coping strategies. Okay, their examples, however, losing a job or a relationship may be more likely to go to extreme. Well, maybe this is less about having coping strategies than having any strategies removed. All right, in my younger years, in my early 20s, I trained in a fairly high-end trade back in the day. That trade doesn't exist anymore, by the way. Now, I did my electrical licenses alongside electricians and my training alongside electricians. My pass rate for my basic, for my electrical exams was 25% higher than electricians in the same exam rooms. But with the swish of a pen, the government decided to change my union status from metal workers trade union to electrical trade union. Now, it's true that a lot of my field has gone electrical, but there is still a hell of a lot of stuff that isn't. Just the same. We were changed from metal workers trade union because we were predominantly around mining, metalworks, oil refineries, so forth. That's where our trade was probably most dominant, although it's through all fields of industry. In changing that one piece of legislation, the electricians decided to remove our electrical licenses. The only way we could get our electrical licenses back to the level they were was to serve another 4 years of apprenticeship or serve as a mate under an electrician who would sign off on our work. Now, having done 10 years in my trade, it did not seem a fair thing that I should have to go for my electrical licenses by serving another fucking 4 to 5 years of apprenticeship. Fucking ridiculous. In any case, what it did was undermine my trade and make it useless. So I understand that losing a job is sometimes a dead end. It is sometimes leaves you with no options or few options. And the older you get, the less options. Now, I was young. I still had time to experiment with my life and work out where I was going. I've ended up an at-home father. Who the fuck thought I was going there? But that's where I went. That's where my life took me. I had the time to do that. Now, if I lost my job now, at this stage of my life, in my 50s, I would have such a narrow avenue of options open to me that maybe suicidality would be something. Relationships. This is not an easy one either. This is not just simply, oh, I lost my girlfriend. I tell you what, when it comes to relationship breakups, women take it fucking more personally than men do in a lot of cases. Yes, there are men who do, and when they do, it becomes very obvious. But we never talk about when women do the same things, and that's why it's not obvious. Because I can tell you, women who take the end of a relationship badly, fucking horrendously monstrous bitches. And they will do all the same things men will do when men respond badly to a relationship breakup. You just never hear about it. But a relationship breakup doesn't always just mean, well, we split and went our own ways. What if you had kids? What if you're invested in that marriage? You had a house and investments and income and so forth, which she walked out and took a big chunk of, leaving you paying for pussy you were no longer getting and kids that she didn't let you have access to. Again, it's not that you don't have coping strategies. It is that other people have removed your ability to use all of the avenues you might have had at hand. When you find yourself in a dead-end situation, that's when it's dangerous. It's not about losing a job or about a relationship. It is about when those situations are dead ends. All right? At one point in my life, being an at-home father, I've held jobs that were just, pocket money earners. I actually got into cleaning. I got into commercial cleaning offices and workshops, and was working for a company for quite a while, and I was damn good at the job. You can take that how you like, but I take my work seriously, and I do the best at it. Now, yeah, it's menial tasks. Who cares? I don't go to work. I used to go to work for the excitement when I had a trade that I was excited about. These days, I go to work for the money. Well, except I started my own business. Then I go to work for the fun again. But in working for other people in drudge jobs, all I'm interested in is doing the job that you need me to do, earning the money you're going to pay me, and getting the fuck out of there so I can go home and have my fun in my own way, in my own time. So cleaning was perfectly fine for me, as was fruit picking, as was working in a meatworks. because it brought home money that supported my family and gave me more options. But do you think I could ever get into cleaning again in my life? It was only desperation that saw me employed in the first place. No women particularly wanted the job. Now, cleaning is seen as a women's job, by women who essentially run the entire fucking cleaning operation in the world. So it's not even men keeping women in these jobs. It's women keeping women in these jobs. I would go back to cleaning, no problem. I did not dislike the work. But I couldn't. It's a dead end for me. That's without my trade qualifications. I put those on a job application, and it's very, very common to be told that I am overqualified. Because I have a high qualification, there's a chance I don't want to be in this menial job, and therefore I won't stay with it, and I will want to move on very quickly. It doesn't matter that I'm quite happy to do menial work just for the money. People look at my qualifications and it turns into a dead end. And I've had this happen to me often. So there are times when I won't even mention my trade. Or I will mention it in such a way that it is just a qualification. Not something I was passionate about. In any case, I object to this because this is not a sign that men don't have coping strategies. These things are often dead ends. Traditional masculine ideology suggests that boys that... Oh, by the way, I should skip ahead. We'll skip ahead because we should read this bit. This is where this article... This is how we know this entire study was a piece of shit. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Based on traditional femininity norms, women may be more free to express vulnerable emotions, whereas men may externalize their despair by taking out on others. Yeah, right. So suicide is taking it out on others? Is that where we go now? But I should note that at least twice in this article, this appears. Who was also not involved with the research? Why the fuck did you ask this feminist prat Ronald Dickwit for his opinion on fucking masculinity? The guy is obviously fucking dim as buggery. So yes, he thinks that men take their despair out on others or turn towards alcohol and substances to numb the pain. This may be very true, but do you think women don't do it? And do you think this is common? Because one of the things that strikes me from back here is most men don't commit suicide. So we're really looking at a small number who may have undiagnosed depression. Right. So what's it got to do with fucking traditional femininity? And women being able to cry? Behaviours more contingent with traditional femininity norms were used to form the basis of the diagnostic criteria used for depression. As a result, more masculine forms of depression may not be detected by the standard Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Yeah, I agree. You fucking base everything on women, you know nothing about men. And I get the feeling that that is exactly where this fucking study comes from. Which is why I thought I'd jump down to there and read that. Know that this is tinged with the fact that femininity is the ultimate standard for everyone. Everyone needs to be feminine. Traditional masculine ideologies, this is skip back up the article. Traditional masculine ideology suggests that boys that expressing suggest to boys that expressing vulnerability is shameful and unmanly and may isolate them from growing into men. Says Freddie Dickwit, who was not involved in the study. This is the whole article, just tinged with this fucking bullshit that these people who weren't even involved in the study, we shouldn't teach boys to... We should teach boys to cry like girls. And the measure for these things is femininity, because femininity is fucking perfect. It's not that more fucking mothers killed children than fathers last year in Australia by a fucking outstanding number. No. There's nothing wrong with femininity. Women are such perfect, ideal fucking people. They never have to take any drugs for depression. They never fucking dope themselves up on Valium or any of that other shit that was so common for women many years ago. It's probably still common now. We just don't hear about it like we used to. No. We're not diagnosing depression in men because we're looking at men as if they should be fucking women. It's really hard to take this shit seriously. The only thing I really took from this, the whole article, the only thing of worth in this whole thing was this first paragraph that's wrong in being right, because it pointed out the possible dead ends, that being driven into a corner, that losing out on your ability to have coping strategies, I won't use the bloody word rigid there, that the fact that your coping strategies no longer work because you've been put in a situation outside your control, that may be a dead end that you can't see the way out of. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. This paragraph was wrong in being right. And it was the only thing of worth in this whole bloody article. Oh, that and this one. Most men don't commit suicide. We're really looking at a small number. When prats like these down here, who were not included in, not involved in the research, tell us that masculinity is the problem, we need to be more like women, and yet it is clearly not masculinity that's a problem, because most men are not committing suicide, and I'm guessing the majority of men are still considered to be masculine, then this has nothing at all to do with fucking masculinity. Nothing. And I think it has to do with dead ends, with losing control over your life, with in the case of a relationship, possibly the courts have just told you you're not seeing your children anymore, or the missus is telling you you're not seeing the children anymore and you've got no more money to fight her in the courts, and you've got nothing left. It's a dead end. The law's not helping you. It's not supporting anything you need out of in your life. It is fully backing her. That's a dead end. And dead ends are the problem, not masculinity. I imagine this is why a lot of women kill their children too, by the way. I do not imagine that women are just out there killing their children because they are all fucking spiteful towards a man. I think quite a lot of what happens in these situations is being driven into dead ends, is being not able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, not being able to see a way to the future. And what, we don't call that a problem with femininity? But we call everything a problem with masculinity. Alright. I've had enough of this one. I've actually tried to record this one a couple of times. I didn't really find it comfortable being discussing this shit because there's just so much that goes wrong with these sorts of things, and it may not even be the study. It might just be the way it's bloody been penned for the media, for the press. But fucking hell, when some idiot woman thinks that masculinity is a problem because her first grade son's competition at a fucking soccer match said we won. And when studies that basically cry back to femininity as the standard and can't see the difference between dead ends and coping strategies, just don't know where to fucking go with this shit. How do you thump this shit into these people's heads so they get the idea that being raised a man, being raised with the responsibility, the understanding of responsibility, means being told that you have to have coping strategies? How the fuck do you get this shit through people's heads? No. We can't cry, therefore we can't cope. Go and fuck yourself. Right royally. Alright, I've been the anti-theocrat. May gods remain fictional. I'll see you in the next one.
Watching a YouTube video.